Hello, my name is Danielle Jones. Starting this blog because I about excuse me, sorry. About 2 months ago was diagnosed with GBS syndrome, which most of you probably don't know, is Guillain-Barré syndrome. My symptoms started as just on my left foot, all my toes going completely numb. I'm 23 and I work full time and go to school, so I pretty much was just like, wow, this is kind of weird, but whatever, I still have to do what I gotta do. So I went to the doctor. She told me that I had overreactivity to the cold, which I knew wasn't true because my feet and hands are always freezing. And nothing like that has ever happened to me. If your toes are numb, chances are your whole foot is numb. So 3 days later was my birthday, and I made an urgent appointment because the numbness had traveled from my toes to both my feet, and, and as well as just my fingertips on my hands. Within the period that she told me that I had overreactivity to the cold to my birthday, February 8th, which was my second doctor's appointment, I noticed a kind of correlation between temperature and when I would go numb. When I was blow drying my hair, straightening my hair, or in the shower, my fingertips would go completely numb. It was uncomfortable for me to shower because the feeling and texture of my hair being wet and being, my fingers are numb, it just wasn't comfortable. And when I was blow drying my hair and straightening it, my hands would go numb and I wouldn't be able to finish it. The Thursday before that day, I worked a shift that was 7 to 3. I woke up. I didn't wake up to my alarm. I woke up frantically getting calls because the person I was supposed to relieve was very upset that I wasn't there. And I was freaking out. I was, trying to run around and get ready, and I was stumbling. My balance was just totally off. My feet were numb, my hands were numb. I was like, I couldn't get ready myself. I had to get dressed. My mom had to do my hair, and she was like, you shouldn't work. But I was like, I have to, whatever. I went in there. Everyone was like, you don't look good. And I just, shrugged it off, don't feel well. Then as I was eating, I had Easy Mac, and it was hot. And then my tongue went numb because of the heat. And I was like, wow, this is just really bizarre. And my boyfriend at the time was like, oh yeah, I'm going to pick you up, we'll take you to the hospital, da-da-da. So he ended up picking me up. We ended up getting dropped off at his house. I stumbled out of the car, almost fell up his stairs. And he never took me to the hospital, so that's when the next day I went to my doctor. She noticed that I didn't, first of all, I was in a wheelchair. My brother had to wheel me in a wheelchair. I couldn't walk. And she noticed that I had no reflexes. And she sent me directly to the hospital, to Faulkner Hospital, where I wasn't admitted because it was like a huge blizzard. Excuse me. And they didn't have the treatment there for me, but they were sure. They were like, this is Guillain-Barré syndrome, like, you have all the symptoms, da-da-da. So I got transferred in an ambulance to Brigham and Women's. And when I got there, they pretty much told me that this is all in my head. They don't know why I'm having these symptoms, that it's neuropathy, that, just pretty much they didn't know what the hell was going on. But they said that they weren't gonna administer me an MRI, CAT scan, lumbar puncture, none of that. So I stayed in the ER. I got observed overnight. And my mom was very upset that they weren't going to give me any tests. And she said, listen, you need to give her the test, da da da. And a resident said, okay, we're going to give her the lumbar puncture. So that takes, I don't really remember how long it took, but it takes a couple hours for it to get processed and all that. So the chief neurologist comes down and he was like, we're just going to send her home. I think she has neuropathy, from stress, which I had nothing going on in my life. I worked full time, went to school, went out with my friends. I was just, normal life. And then he left the room, and then right after he left, a man came in and said, listen, you have Guillain-Barré syndrome, we're going to send you upstairs immediately and administer you the treatment, which is IVIG. It's like, they take antibodies from plasma and inject it into your body through IV. So they sent me upstairs, and that night I was going to get the IVIG, which I did get. It was through the course of 2 days. I was throwing up, vomiting, couldn't keep anything down, very sick. So they gave me it, and the physical therapist woman came in, and she evaluated me and saw that I could go up the stairs, and I had most of my strength back, and she sent me home. While I was home, I kept telling my mom, I'm not feeling any better, like I'm not getting any better. And she was like, no, the doctor said this is normal. And my muscle weakness just kept getting worse and worse. As you can see now, like, the side blinks faster and the side of my mouth is moving more because a couple days after I came home from the IVIG, I developed Bell's palsy, but my Bell's palsy right now, believe it or not, is a lot better than it was. When I first got it, my whole face was drooping, and see, I couldn't even smile. It was just, and this side would go up like that, and it was very scary for me. Like, I thought I had a stroke. I didn't even know what was going on. So, I went to the hospital for that too, and they were like, oh, it's just Bell's palsy, it'll go away in 2 weeks, and within the next week, I was transferred out of my house by an ambulance. I was totally paralyzed. Both sides of my face was just paralyzed. Couldn't move my arms. I couldn't move my legs. And for those couple weeks that I was home, I woke up every 2 hours. My mom had to turn me. I needed help going to the bathroom, getting off the toilet. I couldn't move, and it was the scariest experience of my life. I can't even stress to you how scary it was, and you have to kind of, sorry, I get like emotional, but like, my sister and my brother had to help me onto the toilet, and I needed help getting dressed, and you have to kind of throw, your dignity out the window. You need that help, and, people need to see you naked and whatever, but what I went through at home was nothing compared to what I would go through, but I didn't even know that, because obviously, I was just concerned about getting better. So get transferred to Brigham and Women's. and I'm laying there, which I couldn't do anything, you know, like they were lucky if they could get me to talk, because even right now, like the more that I talk, you'll see the more weakness I get in my face. And my tongue is better now, but if I eat certain textures, it'll go numb, and if I have the hot food, it'll go numb. But the first really emotional thing for me was, I was like, Mom, I have to go to the bathroom, like I have to pee, whatever. And they were like, she can't move, let's get her the bedpan. And I was like, no, please, please, Jesus, please. I I was so scared to use that, because it really meant that, you know, I am helpless, you know. And I was like, please just get me the commode and I'll go on that. And thank God there was 3 people to help me onto it and go on that, because it just wasn't happening with the whole bedpan thing. I just physically could not get myself to go to the bathroom on it. You know, it's weird. And it's certainly not comfortable. So when I went in there to the ER, I was also just very emotional, because the last time I got the IVIG was miserable for me, you know, like I was throwing up, and it just makes you not feel good. Like any kind of treatment is just, you know, it just makes you feel like crap, like the side effects and everything. And I got really bad migraines from it the first time, and I was just really scared. And they were like, we're going to give you the IVIG again. So I said, okay. So we go up to my room, and they were going to give me the IVIG not in 2 nights, but in 3 nights. So the first night, they kind of, every half hour, they upped the dose a little bit. And I was just like really nervous. I warned them. They wouldn't let me eat all day, drink nothing. And I was having a lot of trouble swallowing. Like my muscles in my throat were getting kind of paralyzed, and they were very, very concerned about my breathing. My breathing was not up to par. And a lot of people with GBS end up on a ventilator in the ICU. And before I even got my room in the hospital, they were debating whether to just put me in there. Thankfully, I wasn't put in there, but every 4 hours I got a respiratory therapist to come in and check my breathing. So they woke me up when I was sleeping, whatever. And so the first night, my mom couldn't stay with me, and I was like, you know, I'll be fine, whatever. And they started upping the dose, and I physically couldn't sit myself up. So thank God my nurse was there, because I ended up throwing up, and I needed her to physically lift me up so I wouldn't choke on my own vomit. And I kept throwing up from that, and that's when they lowered my dose to the first dose that they gave me, and they just kept it at that. And it took like 10 hours to administer to me, and it was so miserable. And then the 2 other days that I was there, they gave it to me at night and administered it to me in the first dose, like they did before, and I was totally fine, not nauseous, but just not feeling well. I had really bad migraines. I obviously couldn't shower because I was unable to move. Going to the bathroom for me was so painful because of the nerve pain I was getting. When I would sit on firm surfaces, it would hurt me so bad. I had no muscle. It was so painful, and I would scream and cry. The second day I was there, a physical therapist came in, and I would have a lot of therapists come in just to evaluate you, and she would try to get me to stand, and I would scream and I would cry because my knees would buckle, and I would feel like I was gonna fall over, which, I was probably gonna go down. Then they had to give me a shock test where they, jumpstart your nerves to see, kind of to see how bad your GBS is and to see if that is the correct diagnosis. And they told me that I had it pretty moderately and that it was in fact GBS. And while I was down there, I'll, never forget. My grandmother was upstairs. She came to visit me, but I was at the test before she came, and she came with my mom, and I told them, let my mom come down here when she gets here. And my other grandmother came on a shuttle because she worked at Faulkner Hospital, which is a hospital, like a sister hospital to the hospital I was at. And I really had to go to the bathroom, like really bad, when I was waiting for my transporter. And he was like, let me get you a bedpan, and I started crying, and I was like, I'm gonna get this all over the place, like, I've never used one of these, and I physically could not go, like, I could not go in the bedpan to the bathroom. I don't know what it was, I just couldn't. And I was like, just help me to the bathroom, it's right there. It was literally, like, probably 5 feet from where I was. And they sat me up, and I put my legs down, and they would not hold me up. So they had to just put me right back down. So when I got up to the room, they put me on the commode, and it just hurt so bad. And my grandmother, my nana, they were crying. They were just so upset to see me that way. And I was like, this is a lot better than I was, at least I'm, a little bit stronger because of the treatment. Because the treatment, it really does. It works very fast, but when it wears off is when you have to be worried, because that's what happened to me. It wore off the first time, and bam, I was done. Like, the GBS just took over again. So, after the third day there, they started evaluating me, and they told me, we think that you have to go into a rehab hospital. And at that point, I was just like, bring me wherever you want to bring me, because I just want to be able to be safe and to get better, just, that's all I wanted. So they brought me to Spalding Hospital, which is a rehab hospital, and I'm gonna have to stop this video because I'm getting, like, really, really tired. Like, my face is just, like, my mouth is hurting, but I'll just leave it there that I was transferred to Spalding Hospital, and the next time I record, I'll tell you my adventure about Spalding Hospital and where I am now and where I hope to be.